Well, thank you for being here, and thank you, gentlemen. First, I need to thank Sandoche because I was embarrassed that yesterday, when I was interviewing the inventors of the LoRa technology and later LoRaWAN, I forgot to thank Sandoche who made that interview possible. So thank you very much. It was such a fun, informative conversation. I think the audience really enjoyed it. So thank you, Sandosh. And we're here today because academia is so important to you. Let me introduce my panel members. So Sandoche Balakrichenan, Head of R&D Partnerships for AFNIC speakers, correct? And Professor Krzysztof Grochla with the Institute of Theoretical and Applied Informatics, and Ibrahim Ayoub, you are a PhD student at Universite Paris. So thank you so much for joining us um, to speak about something I think that is so crucially important, and sometimes people forget about it. So Sandosh, let's begin with you. Why do we need this partnership? Specifically at the Alliance, we have the academic working group. Why do we need this?
Thank you, Susie. And I should also say that you are quite involved in creating this panel, so for the Christians and all. So, um, why I'm here? Because I'm chairing the academic working group. And why do we need the academia working group at the LoRa Alliance? You see, the LoRa community as well as the LoRa Alliance has number of stakeholders. So it's like the internet, where you have the device manufacturers, where you have the service providers like network service providers, cloud service providers, security service providers, the integrators, the gateway manufacturers. So there is a number of stakeholders involved. And when we have number of stakeholders, there is innovation. So there is open innovation here. And when to innovation to make it happen, you need two pillars. One is the industry, that's normal. The other one is the university. So if you remember yesterday during the inventors of LoRaWAN discussion, Nicolas said that the industry, they have a problem in hand, they try to solve it, and then they forget about it. They don't have time. The university, they have time and they have the talent. So I think for innovation to happen, the university is an integral part, and they should work in liaison with the industry to work on things that are long term, because the specifications in LoRa are is quite evolving, and to have long term goals. And we already have some outputs like that, which has evolved the LoRa technology based upon university participation. So that is the objective of having the academia working group.
Thank you, Sandosh. And along those lines, can you share some of the successes you've had within the working group, some real use cases, and what your plans are for the future?
Thank you. So actually, we started before COVID, and I asked for a roaming network for academics at the LoRa Alliance, and that's where I contacted Alper, who is the chair of the technical committee, and we made some presentations before COVID at Amsterdam. We made that presentation, and the community welcomed that idea. So the idea started as a roaming group, just for roaming use case. But finally, we thought that we should evolve into other use cases also. So initially, we had the charter like having communication between industry and academia for project partnership. The industries could give devices to the academia to test, and to for internship, for job, etc., etc. So we had meetings every month, once in a week, once in a month, and then those meetings we had number of new technologies being discussed. And one of the success factors that I can tell you here is that we had from Nanyang Technical University from Singapore. They had a very important development, and they presented it and they showed that it works. But then came from Semtech from US, a industry member who said that this technology is good, but it will not work for the standards for the FCC in the US. So these were not known to the university. So this type of communication evolves, and they changed it, and they came back and presented, and now the technical committee is taking that as one of the projects for this roaming for this year's roadmap. So we have number of instances like that, and I think now we have like 30 academic institutions who are part of the alliance. And one thing that I would like to convey here is that the LoRa Alliance has given a lot of things for institution members because it's completely free for them. They can participate freely. They can participate in the technical committee, and they can participate in the evaluation of the specifications. So they should know that. And we are also trying to go in the future with more aspects like having a booth for academia working group here, for sponsoring students. So these are the things that will be in the future.
Yes, I mean, I think industry is very keen to work. You just have to put the opportunity in front of them because it's a no-brainer with the talent and the time, as you say. So thank you. And Professor, I neglected to say which university you are with. Can you please tell us?
I'm working at the Institute of Polish Academy of Science, so it's a research institute. We have also a Silesian Technical University in Gliwice, to which I cooperate, but I'm not directly working with.
Oh, thank you. And I wanted our audience to know that because there are so many IoT technologies out there for you to choose from at your level and with your exposure. Why did you choose the LoRaWAN technology?
Okay. So my background was in performance evaluation of the telecommunication protocol, and we wanted to start working on IoT. And for IoT, the low power wide area networks are the most commonly used solution for the communication. And among them, the LoRaWAN is the biggest one and the fastest growing technology. And apart from, in addition to this, there are a lot of open research challenges in LoRaWAN to be pursued. And LoRa Alliance is very open for participation from research institutions. So like Sandoche said, we can get involved in practical evaluation of the LoRaWAN very easily. So it's a very good area of research to be working on.
Is there any particular has you interested at the moment where LoRaWAN is involved?
Yeah. So I was involved in Relay D2D task force when we tried to develop the relay mode to forward messages from one device to another. And also I was involved in some areas of security evaluation.
It's really exciting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you share some examples of the private and public partnership, how they work together, and specifically in the LoRaWAN community?
So as a research institute, we cooperate a lot with the companies. So I can give you a very practical example. When we cooperate with Ayoub company, which is developing smart meters, for example, for water networks. And they came to us with a problem that even for a careful planned network, up to 5% of devices are not getting appropriate connectivity with the gateways. So thanks for being a member of LoRa Alliance, I was aware that there are works being done on the development of the relay mode to help such devices to communicate with the network. Which allows us to start working on the algorithm to select locations for such relays and be ready when the specific part of the standard is ready, be ready with our algorithm. So to be more general, as researchers, we do not develop ready to be deployed products, but we develop some algorithms. And thanks for being active in the standardization, we know what problems to pursue and what are the open research problems which has practical application. and we work not only just to publish, but also to contribute to some standards which will be used in practice.
I'm curious, is it common for the research to continue to be public once it's been developed at the university level and then its industry takes it? Is it common for university to keep researching it and other use cases for it?
Yes, I think it's common use cases, but on one level, some elements of our research are sold or developed for companies, but on another level, it's being pursued further on to improve and publish it as a paper, or to just teach students how to use this technology.
If I could add on that, you know, there are funding by the national governments as well as the European funding. And there we could see that we have public-private partnership, that we have the universities, industries coming together, and they have a problem that is come from the industries to be solved. So it's like 3 years program, and I have 2 projects where I'm participating with the universities, and we work on LoRa. One is funded by the French government, and another is funded by the French and German government. So we have certain such type of public-private partnerships.
Ibrahim, as a PhD student, what is your view of the LoRaWAN technology, and can you share your experience in working with it?
Yes, well, maybe the best aspect about LoRa is that it's fairly a young technology, so it's great for a researcher just starting in the research to grow with the technology and see how it evolves as my career and my research career evolves. But LoRa as a technology itself has presented itself as a great contender in the research realm, because compared to other technologies, it is it's basically affordable in every aspect of it, in terms of using unlicensed frequencies, and the technology itself, the hardware, the LoRa hardware itself is fairly affordable, so you can have your own setups and have real experiments instead of just running simulations and doing it on paper. And plus, maybe the good side of LoRa as well is that it's being researched and used by many universities, many partners. So you already have a lot of experts in the field that you can go to, consult and collaborate with. You have a lot of published papers, published articles, so you have a lot of resources mainly. And because it is a fairly new technology, there are a lot of open questions in it. So you have a lot of fields where you can delve into researching LoRa, asking questions, and hopefully finding some rewarding answers.
I'm curious, what part of the LoRa technology do you find most interesting from a research and development perspective?
Well, at least in my case, we are researching the privacy part. So the main title of my research is privacy in the IoT. But as I said, like, if you don't choose LoRa, LoRa will eventually choose you, because other technologies are not as spread, are not as used in the research field. And so, for example, in my case, I'm interested in using some of the existing technology which we use on the internet today, like DNS, to ensure that LoRa messages and exchanges are more privacy friendly, let's say, and to increase the overall security of the LoRa environment.
That's fascinating. I'm so glad that's your concentration. I didn't know, because we had some good conversations about privacy and the misconception, which I would love for you to explain, between people thinking that if you have open networks, like open wireless Wi-Fi, for example, it's a big security issue. But one of my panelists was saying with the LoRa technology, it's not. We shouldn't have that concern, because their dream was to have open network globally. Can you explain that, please?
Yes, exactly. And I believe this was already somehow mentioned in the previous panels. But the main idea is that with LoRa, you don't have to worry if you open your network for roaming or for passing other people's LoRa messages, because eventually everything is, at least at this point, is encrypted and secure. But for example, in the case of Wi-Fi, if you open your hotspot for public use, then in one way or another, all your messages are not in plain text, but they could be sniffed, and your messages will be in danger of being exposed to adversaries and uninvolved users.
Thank you. So if any of you have privacy questions or any questions, please. Oh, we can take a question now. Yes, please.
So I was just curious a little bit more on the encryption side. I know LoRa has LoRa standard encryption, but how about more, end device encryption and application? Having, cryptographic elements inside of devices. You thought about those use cases or thinking about that side?
That's basically our main research topic, maybe, or one of our main concerns in my research, which is because the LoRa space is like divided into radio and IP spaces, we still can't have the full end-to-end or traditional end-to-end encryption like we know on the internet, which is to encrypt on the device and decrypt on the application server. So until now, it's something that's not easily done. You still have the break point at the gateway, which is translate between the radio and the IP space. So currently with LoRa, we have the an AES encryption, 128 bits, which is secure, but we would like to go further with securing LoRa messages and at least try to solve this this issue at the gateway, which is the constraint of the gateway, and in addition to the radio interface between the gateway and the end device. I'm sorry, I said the constraints at the device and not at the gateway. Sorry.
Thank you. Are there any other questions at this time? We'll have some time for Q&A in a bit. More Q&A, should I say. Thank you for that question. What is this is for all of you, and this is my final question. What is your hope for the expansion of research with the LoRaWAN technology in the next 5 years? What do you hope for personally, and what do you think might be happening?
So maybe I can start, but I think one of the challenges is the scaling of the network with the number of devices. As we are having more and more LoRa devices being deployed, the problem we need to evaluate is how the system will react, especially as we are using open frequencies to the growing number of devices, and what to do to make it more scalable to support larger number of devices. And the second element is the use of LoRaWAN for the satellite communication. It's a very interesting topic, and we are starting to have some satellites in the air communicating using LoRa modulation, and it's definitely a subject which needs to be further exploited, how to integrate those satellites with the existing LoRa infrastructure.
Thank you. Satellites is the hot topic that I've gathered here at the conference. It's everyone wishes they can happen sooner. Sandoche or Ibrahim?
Yeah, I would add what Olivier said yesterday about open roaming. So the difference, what we see here is that with cellular and LoRa is that in cellular, we have like 3 or 4 operators in a country. So they are all public operators, and they have an internal roaming system with all the different countries. So if you're roaming, going to Poland, for example, I can have roaming because of my operator here has a roaming interconnection with the operator there in Poland. But it doesn't work with LoRa because we have public operators, we have private operators, we have community operators, and we have hybrid operators. So in France itself, you can have like 1,500, 2,000, 3,000 operators. So a closed interconnection system is difficult to work. So a open roaming system should be implemented. So when I started, I said the academic working group started by having an open roaming infrastructure with the academic institutions. So we started with that, and that's one of our research personally, from my point of view and my company, we have a open public GitHub which explains how to do that with DNS. And on top of that, we are adding security end-to-end, and Ibrahim is working on the privacy aspects. So we have gone from layers to layer, and in another 3-4 years, I believe that we could have an open roaming system for LoRa like the internet.
For me personally, on a personal level, I would like to see where my research takes me with the LoRa environment, like what results might I achieve. But in general, I would like honestly to see, like in 5 years or more, what developments would appear. Like if you ask me these questions 5 years later, what could we be discussing? What will the new hot thing be? And in general, I would like to see LoRa more as a standard network. So just like we use our mobile phones, and you don't have to be tech savvy to use a mobile phone, I would like to see LoRa more in the use where actually it is useful. Like, so we have seen LoRa for agriculture. So let's try and see LoRa in places where actually people depend on agriculture and livestock to earn a living. So that would be, for me, a great achievement for LoRa and the LoRa Alliance in general.
Thank you. And one really interesting thing about technology and research, I feel like it makes us impatient because we know the potential and how it could change lives, to your point and your wish. And the question used to be, what do you envision in 10 to 15 years? That's completely way too long. So thank you for helping us shrink time with research and with all the work that you do. And are there any other questions from the audience? Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for a great conversation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.